Hump day. Yeah, slow mode's on, Big Red. Thank you to the moderators for being here. Jennifer Cruz, how you doing, ma'am? OFC, what's up, brother? Nana's up in the house, so we're going to wait till we're 5 by 5 here. I need to do that. Yes, I'm riding dirty, Aaron. Thank you. And it's Death Wish coffee, so it is blacker than Ace of Spades here. It's strong. Okay, we are 5 by 5. Thank you very much. Jonathan Hicks, reclaiming his old glory. He used to be first in here all the time, and he's finally back on top first. So congrats on that, brother. Who's in the house this morning before we get started? Marley's here. J.R. Cannon's up in the house. Justin, how are you doing? Prepper Medic. Truth Seekers. See over Lazy R. Big German's in the house. God's Country. Ink Scars. Big T. Oh my God. Prepper trucking, and it's like, I can't keep up. God help me too, because I'm on a laptop here. If I was just trying to do the phone, it would be impossible. So good morning to everybody. Thank you for being here, Jelly Bean. I love these names. I love them. Paul Jones, what's up? So let's get into Clue Edition. I mean, it's mainly for the thumbnail art, but I mean, let's check it out. Homestead Homeboy, good morning. Thank you, brother. You didn't have to do that. Was it Miss Scarlet in the study with the candlestick? Was it the Obamas, maybe? Dropping the microphone saying Trump will never be president, yada, yada. Was it China? Was it Wall Street? Daddy Gates, perhaps. I saw Paul in here smashing on him a minute ago. The blue helmets. Was it Tifa in the park with trash can shields? Russia, perhaps. We're going to talk about it this morning. Who's really calling the shots? Because we know it's not Biden. We know it's not the White House. And I'm going to make a case this morning that many other countries are also compromised. Okay, and we're going to get into it. We talked last week about the world war that I believe is coming. But I do not think this is going to be capitalism versus communism. We're going to talk about that this morning, if it's okay, among other things. And I'm also going to tell you about a situation here at the Ponderosa. It's not good, but we'll get into that afterwards in case you're really bored. So, again, a couple of nights ago, I'm sitting out on the deck, and I'm thinking, you know, we're supposed to hate China. We're supposed to hate Russia. Y'all know the division in this country, left wing, right wing. They're always race baiting. This group needs to hate this group and vice versa. They're always making straw men, which is just, you know, a fake boogeyman, if you will. So I started thinking, you know, conservatives are supposed to hate, who is it? China, right? It's China's fault. You'll see a lot of conservatives say China's up to no good. They're doing it all. Liberals, they hate Russia. Trump was colluding with Russia all the time. The witch hunt never ends, right? I started thinking, and I'm like, you know, our own leaders are the ones locking us down. Our own leaders are the ones stripping away freedoms they should not be touching. And not just here in the United States, but many of the U.S. allies out there. Ask an Australian about getting rights stripped away. China's not stripping their rights. Russia's not stripping their rights. And I said, well, wait a minute here. Is China really the boogeyman, or is Russia really the boogeyman, or is something else going on? And thank all of you for sending the intel yesterday. There was a lot of it. Our leaders are stupid with money, and they're stupid with trade. And they've been stupid with it for a very long time. This is also not to fault China or Russia. This is on our leaders, our representation, not just Biden, but this has been ongoing for a long time. Our country fights endless wars. For whatever reason, the story keeps changing. Weapons of mass destruction. We got to go in and take care of this. And while we're there, you know, we'll just scoop up what oil we can. We'll try and nation build. We'll try and do whatever we want to do, basically. This just continues to happen all the time with the United States. I think part of the reason is it booms the economy. It helps the GDP out. And this is one way politicians bail the economy out and stop the country from collapsing. And also, I think it's to enrich the 1% and certain companies that are making bombs, companies that are making airplanes, things of this nature, okay? Country Girl, love that name. Welcome to the coffee club. Thank you very much. So I war gamed it in my head. I said, look, China really gains nothing from the United States collapsing. So when we're talking about a nation falling here, son, if you've ever seen somebody fall in real life, sometimes it's an immediate fall. You know, they trip on something, they smack the floor, just like that. Other times, and I've seen this, and I don't mean to laugh at these people, but sometimes people will get tripped and they start grabbing stuff. It's like a slow motion deal. It takes about 10 seconds. They're grabbing the wires on the back of the TV, trying to keep themselves up. They're, Uncle Eddie's whiskey cup on the table. They're grabbing anything they can to try and stop the fall. But eventually they're going to hit the ground. You know it. That person knows it. It's just slow motion. And I think that's what's going on with the United States right now. We're in a slow motion fall. China gains nothing by us collapsing. They're not stupid, okay? They know that we're in a slow motion collapse right now. They're bound to know it. Same with Russia and many other countries. They know we're on our way down. They have invested a lot of money into the United States. They've bought a lot of property here in the United States. They're surpassing us, the US dollar is being surpassed. They are becoming the #1 economy in the world. They know it. It's just a matter of time. They actually have a larger navy than we do already. So they're doing great financially. We are not, on the other hand. China knows this. They have nothing to gain. They actually stand to lose a little bit from the United States falling. So the Russians, what do they gain from America falling? Well, they would be able to thumb us in the eye and say, told you so, you bunch of capitalists. They don't like us particularly, but I don't think they want the continental United States. When I look at Russia, I think they broke into the USSR when they split up. I think it was 15 countries, including Russia. I think Russia wants to restore the USSR in some fashion, and they want to reclaim these little countries that left or whatever. I think that's their ambition. They could care less about the United States. Now they'll hack us, they'll mess with us. They'll send a couple of planes up to Alaska just to mess with us. But I don't think they're behind all the stuff that's going on here in the United States. I just don't. True capitalism is already gone. It's been gone for decades. I would argue, and maybe you can go even further back than this, but I would argue since the Great Depression, we've had a lot of socialism programs here, and it's just become more and more socialist. Capitalism, the way it was intended to be here in the United States from the jump, that's been dead for a while. And they know it, and again, they really don't care if we fall or not. They know it's coming. World War III is coming. You can mark it down. But I think it's going to be fought between globalists, which we'll explain in a minute, and your communist superpowers and their allies. Because we have talked about in the past, capitalism and globalism, they can't coexist. Globalism requires total control. People like Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, on down the line, whoever else, the guy that owns Twitter that's got the ridiculous beard or whatever, total control. They want total control, and that just doesn't fly in capitalism. It also doesn't fly with communists. Why? Because they want total control. Communism is a total control of the people that live in your country. So your communist leaders, Putin, Russia's not full-blown communist anymore, but Putin, the leaders over in China, I don't think that they are on board with globalism. I really don't. I don't think they're ready to hand the keys over and all of their power over to people that, like Daddy Gates, for example, or Soros. I'm going to go ahead and throw the name out there. People that are pulling those strings, okay? They don't want globalism. And I think this is why they've been painted as boogeymen. If you look at China and you look at Russia and you look at North Korea, and there are a few more, especially in the Middle East, they rail against the idea of globalism. When you take a look at the United States and all of the stuff that is crushing America right now, okay? You take a look at the southern border, folks just overrunning the southern border. You take a look at CRT being taught in schools and in colleges. I just saw a report, I think it was on Fox last night, where Old Dominion University, which is a college, I think, they just got rid of a professor because he was trying to normalize a love for children in a not such a good way, the kind of way that makes you want to punish these people hard. But they caught him doing this. They're trying to normalize that nonsense in our society. The rainbow community is out here. None of this stuff would exist in a communist country. They wouldn't allow it. So I don't think that they are behind all of the nonsense going on here in the United States. To me, it's indicative of a globalist agenda. Okay, this is what globalists want. I agree, it is sick, country gal. We're going to have some sort of revolution here in the United States. I don't think it's going to be a communist revolution. I think that's a sleight of hand. There's no way. Again, China, they're not stupid. The Russians aren't stupid, okay? They're not going to fund groups of communists and then hand them hammer and sickle flags and say, hold these up when you march. They're not stupid, all right? When they hack us, they have to get caught hacking. They don't come out in the open and say, oh, we hacked the United States, son. They don't do that. This is, in my opinion, folks, globalists are setting this stuff up in the United States, and then they are building a straw man with China and with Russia. And I'm not a fan of communism, just for the record. I just don't think they're guilty of what's going on when it comes to the Antifa crowd, when it comes to BLM. I think those groups are getting funding. I think those groups actually believe they're working for the communists, but I don't think they are. These folks are playing chess. Is it possible? I'm going to ask the chat, is it possible that these countries that have been dubbed hostile, you know, the Russias and the North Koreas, that they just don't want globalism and they've been painted the wrong way? Is it possible that they just want to be left alone? When you look at the message from all of these different countries, again, our message continues to change. Weapons of mass destruction, we got to go in. This is going on, we got to go in. Patriot Act, C-19, here, let's strip some rights away. Australia, the United Kingdom, France, their message continues to flip-flop. Meanwhile, these countries that have been, you know, painted as straw men, I believe, their message has been the same. They say our politicians here in the West are schemers. They are, big time. They say that our mainstream media lies to us. I agree. I think they do, 1,000%. And they say that the United States and America's allies provoke violence around the world. Sounds pretty legit to me, because it seems like we do, again, with the endless wars. So I said, you know what? Thank you, River Rat. I said, let's take a hard look at the United States of America, since we are the beacon of freedom around the world. That's what we're told. That's what they put on the spoon, and they feed it to us. You know what I mean? Our freedom of speech here in this country is all but gone. Seriously. The prepping community, for example, we get on here, we have to dance around, sadly, the algorithm and all this stuff. But it's not about me. I've been slapped on the wrist a couple of times here, Prepper Nation. This is not the only community, by the way, where that's happened. It's not about me, it's about you. They do not want you folks to congregate somewhere and to exchange information and ideas. Freedom of speech, they want that gone here in the United States of America. We don't actually own land. We purchase land. We pay taxes on the land every year. The government can, I think it's called eminent domain. They can come in, they can take your land. They can say it's worth this much money. Here you go, get off your land. They can do that at any point in time, okay? They can come to your house. They can sign a piece of paper. The laws are already on the books. Martial law. They can knock on your door. If you don't answer, they can kick the door in and they can take your stuff, period, here in the United States. We're being tracked. Our information is being sold, harvested and sold. They don't even try and hide this. People are so used to this, they'll sign up for a phone application or something like that and give it all away. Our representation, The swamp in D.C., they have failed us. I would argue this morning, big time. They are not representing us the way the Constitution intended for us to be represented. It was supposed to be normal people here in America going to D.C. and representing normal people, like the truck driver in New Jersey. There's nothing normal about the folks in D.C. on both sides of the aisle. There's nothing normal about being in Congress for 60 years, Bernie Sanders, however long he's been there. There's nothing normal about not working a job in your entire life and being a multimillionaire and being in Congress for decades. It's ridiculous. We've lost our privacy because of the Patriot Act here in the United States of America. When we lose freedoms, it's kind of like a toll booth. Have you guys ever seen a toll booth get built like on a highway or an interstate or something like that? And you just have to stop at the toll booth. You have to pay the toll. They say, well, it's for road repairs or whatever. What happens when they repair the roads? Do they take the toll booth away? No. Once it's in place, it's a done deal. The Patriot Act is still there. Why? Exactly. What good has it done the average American person? Right now, we're losing civil rights and freedoms, liberties, because of this C-19. They're stripping them away right in front of our eyes. And yesterday, as we were talking about term limits, absolutely. We were talking yesterday, most of America doesn't even question it anymore. They're just sitting over in the corner. They got a snot bubble in their nose, thumb in their mouth, saying, what else are you going to take from us? When can we get back to normal? That's what they're concerned about. Nothing normal about what's going on, folks. I'm not doing my part. I keep seeing this on propaganda posters and commercials and hear it on the radio or whatever. You need to do your part. I'm not doing my part. I'm not playing into the fantasy nonsense that's being pitched by globalists. That's who's behind this, in my opinion. I didn't create this thing. And the more I play it out in my head, I'm starting to wonder if China created this thing. I don't think they did. I think this is a globalist agenda. And I think it got thrown into the lap of China. And I'm not taking up for China here. But if that's the case, I can understand where they would be a little pissed off about it, if you want to know the truth. I didn't create the panic that you see here in the United States. Mainstream media did that for us, with the big red banners and 100 million people will die and all of this nonsense. You know, like it's an NFL scoreboard ticker. They created the panic here in the United States. We did not, but we're suffering for it now. I'm not going to ask nicely for freedoms that are already guaranteed to me here in the United States of America. I don't know about you. I'm not going to live in fear, and I'm not going to live with a fear of being shunned by society. I don't care. Shun me. If this is a free country and you shun me from society, you say you're over here now, you're not part of society, are you still going to tax me? Of course you are. Why? Because we're not free. At the end of the day, I agree with the poll. We'll get into the poll in a second. But the real enemy here in the United States, in my opinion, folks, is the illusion of freedom. We're not free. We have not been free for a mighty long time. And it's about time to do something about that. Getting into the poll, folks. Who is America's biggest enemy? Of course, it's the D.C. swamp. 56% of you. The question is, who are they getting marching orders from? You know, and I agree with the poll globalist, 30%. When you see the World War kick off, you're going to see America, you're going to see the United Kingdom, you're going to see Australia, France, Canada, all of the allies that have already gotten into bed with globalists. They're going to line up on one side. China, Russia, North Korea, some of your nations in the Middle East, they're lining up on the other side. These are the folks that say, no, we want it our way or no way at all. We're not bowing down to globalism. And it is going to be hell on earth when this thing breaks loose. Here in the United States, you are going to see patriots like ourselves against whatever. I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know what flag they're going to be flying, what they're going to try and do. But they want us gone. They want patriots out of here. We are the number one threat. We always hear the Constitution is the number one threat to globalism, right? It's not. because half of our country doesn't even recognize the Constitution anymore. They want to change it. That's not a threat anymore. It's folks like us that still, we still recognize the Constitution. We still have a love for country. We're the threat. That is the reason they are overwhelming the borders. That is the reason that they are flying people in my opinion, illegals, and just dumping them all over the place. This is just, again, my opinion. I would love to know what you folks think about it. I will go back through the chat, I promise, okay? I'm flying the black flag. I do not blame you one bit. You will own nothing and be happy, Joni. And not only will you do that, you will wear a t-shirt that says, I own nothing and I'm happy about it. And if you don't, your smartphone will snitch on you and they will come and arrest you. That is the world they want you to be living in. And again, for the record, because I know these emails are coming, I'm not a huge fan of China. I'm not a huge fan of Russia. I'm not a huge fan of communism. Communism, tons of people disappear. You get a gun pointed in your face and you're told you're going to do this or else. At the same time, at least they're honest about who they are. They don't go along with this little masquerade like our DC swamp and pretend to care about us and pretend that we're free. It would almost be better if they didn't, because we have sat here under the illusion of freedom and allow ourselves to be used. And patriots, folks, our ranks aren't swelling. They're getting smaller and smaller. And that's a huge issue. Preach it, John. I'm sorry, folks. Phil, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to preach this morning. But the more I thought about this, I'm just tired of being lied to. Okay, by mainstream media, by our leaders, by people that pretend to care about us. I'm tired of playing that charade. If you don't care about us, leave us alone. Let us live our lives. When you're born into this world, you have the same right as everybody else. I don't care what establishment was set up before I got here. That has nothing to do with me. Leave me alone and let me be free. And somebody's saying tax dollars, wash brain. I don't mind paying taxes, but stop spending it on stupid crap. Stop handing it to globalist companies. Stop sending it away to other countries because you want to pander to other countries and their leaders. It's not your money to send away. It's our money. Amen. Leave me alone. We just want to be left alone. Black flag, Vivian, means no quarter will be given during a time of war. I guess you could fly one right now, but during a time of war, if you do not plan on taking prisoners, you fly a black flag. If you trade freedom for security, you deserve neither. Deplorable prepper. And that is awesome. And I'm going to take it a step further. At some point, if patriots in this country aren't willing to stand up and fight for freedom, they don't deserve it, myself included, okay? 3 prepping items this morning. Switching now to prepping items, getting out of the rant. 3 prepping items. Bungee cords. I got a bunch of those downstairs, a few in the car. You should have bungee cords. Number 2, sugar. Sugar. So, however it goes. I don't know. I hear it on the radio. My daughter listens to it sometimes. Number 3, and I'm going to take the easy route on this one. Pre-cut plywood, or plywood if you have the ability to cut it with the grid down. I'm saying the windows, sugar shine, there you go. But you folks let me know, what would you use plywood for? Pre-cut plywood or so on and so forth. A lot of different uses for that. Don't forget the medical supplies. Never look back. We're going to be talking about medicine tomorrow, actually, because a lot of it is disappearing now. Thank you, C over Lazy R. 50 pounds here. That's awesome. Windows. Yeah, I took windows myself. You can use it for other things. You can make makeshift tables and stuff like that. Board up windows of basement. T-Rex sunglasses. Yeah, I got my Oakleys on this morning. Can't afford plywood anymore. Yeah, you're right on that, Paul. It's we say right now here in North Carolina, if you see somebody with a little bit of lumber, 1 or 2 pieces of lumber or 1 piece of plywood in the back of their truck driving downtown, they're flexing their wealth, because you got to be wealthy, right? We are getting sheets of plexiglass. All right, so the scenario this morning, Mad Max is hitting. You know it's coming. You're prepared for it. As a prepper, you sit down, you're good to go, everything's locked up tight. You got all your stuff out, including your boomsticks. You just ain't worried about it. And your spouse comes up to you and says, honey, your spouse admits, I invited a few people. How do you handle this as a prepper? Because again, your spouse, you're married to this person. I don't think you can really kick them out at that point. But yeah, they admit they invited some people over. And it's too late, HTF, you know, Mad Max is hitting. How do you deal with it? The chat's quiet. They're like hollering at their spouse. Have you invited anybody over? You better not. My spouse knows better. Hopefully they have skills. There you go. Duct tape his mouth shut. Why did it flag that? Nothing wrong with that. Not in Joe's America. Trying to unflag it there, ma'am. Sorry about that. Immediate relocation. You're like, I'm out of here. You come if you want, but they're going to find an empty house when they get here. Going healed. I hope she invited a good-looking girl. Wow. Who are these people? People that she knows. Maybe not that you know. Co-workers or whatever the case may be. I didn't really write that down, but that's a great question. Glad I'm single. Somebody said. Use them, love them, or kill them, Matthew Kitchen says. Wouldn't happen. Beaverines. Mountain Man just throwing beaverines out there. Beaverines. Somebody was asking earlier, they must have been new here. What does beaverines mean? It's kind of the PG-13 explanation would be it's a rallying cry. Prepper Nation. I won't go any further into that, okay? So quickly, shoot a thumbs up if you haven't done so already. For those that have, I appreciate it. And if you don't intend to shoot a thumbs up, may you have to clip Mitch McConnell's toenails. I'm just saying. Or thumbs down, whatever. Any kind of thumb. Thumb sideways. I need a sideways thumb for mornings like this. Rallying cry. Yep. Somebody, I seen in chat, I think it was OFC yesterday, put that he found cream-filled, beaver-shaped cakes. And he thought about me or something like that. I said, oh, no, he didn't. Come on now. Ooh, old man nails. Yeah, if you drop a thumbs down, may you have to do it with your teeth. How about that? Yeah, people are like, I'm throwing up. So let me explain the situation that's going on here at the Ponderosa for those that are really bored this morning, okay? For you parents, have you ever walked into a kid's room and found something you weren't supposed to find? This causing a little bit of drama here. So, you know, you walk in and no, folks, it wasn't drugs, it wasn't alcohol. Thank goodness for that. I'm going to show you what I found this morning. I found this yesterday in my daughter's room. Y'all ready for this? I set her down at the kitchen table. I said, honey, what is this? Why you bring this into my house? And it was funny. It was like an episode of that show Intervention or something. She was like, Dad, all the kids are drinking Starbucks. That's like the thing. And I said, honey, this right here, this is like a gateway drug. I said, you start with this, you end up with fake meat. You already drinking fake coffee, son. You end up with fake meat. You're going to be a vegan. You're going to end up watching The View or something like that. Yeah, supporting the enemy. I said, don't bring this into my house. And Miss Nation's like, John, honey, it's her room. I said, it's in my house. Don't bring this. At least don't let me see it. I said, we decided on put it under your bed or something. You're going to wash it yourself. I ain't washing the nasty thing. Keep it under your bed. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. It's just unreal. It's not even coffee, guys. It's not real. But I wanted to mention that. My wife's like, you're going way overboard. I said, nah. You can't support people like this because that's how it starts. Don't do it. Burn it. I told her, Jennifer, I said, Just put it away so I don't have to see it again. If I walk through your room and I find it out on a table or something while you're at school, I'll hit it with the 12 gauge. I ain't playing. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who bought it for. I guess my wife. I don't know. So anyway, we are waiting on, it looks like the trial. Y'all know what I'm talking about with Kyle and everything. I want to get some thoughts on that. I wanted to ask about the jury selection. I'd mentioned this yesterday over on Patreon. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the way they do it. I know why they do it, you know, where he's picking out of a bag like the NBA lottery or something. But I don't know. It just seems very strange that he's pulling names out of a bag, and if he pulls the wrong names, he could potentially do life in prison. But if he pulls a different name, he could be completely off the hook here. It's just, I guess they do it for a while. They've been doing this for a while, but yeah, I just found that very strange. And the bag was ratty looking, the boot. It does, Nana, I understand why they do it. It helps jurors from being threatened. Part of me thinks that's why they have not come to a verdict already. They are afraid of the backlash. But at the same time, you know, I mean, wow. To put somebody's life into drawing out of a bag, because not all the jurors are going to agree all the time. It struck me as being very strange. A lot of people, and that's fair. I saw that veteran. That's fair. But I'm allowed to hate Starbucks. You know what I mean? And I do. I don't like to go in there. I've been in a couple of times in my life, and it's just, you know, I'm talking to patriots through YouTube right now. I'm not surrounded by yuppies with, you know, fake sweaters on, drinking fake coffee. I just don't like the company. Lily B, welcome to the coffee club. Thank you very much. Some people are saying, you know, he's innocent. I know they dropped the gun charge, or not guilty. I guess, yeah, Lori, that would be a better way of putting it. It's all strange. No sequester. A lot was being made about. There's a picture floating around where the judge is looking at video or something, I guess, and Kyle's behind him, and people are like they've never seen that before. But we don't know what went down there. The judge may have asked him to come up so he could get a better look at the video or something. Truth Seeker says these jurors need to stop being cowards and do what's right, period. Well, it could be that they fear for them. Dunkin' Donuts is okay. I saw that. They could point. There could be one or two of them that say, nah, he's innocent. And there could be one or two that say, he's absolutely guilty and I'm not changing my mind. So we don't know why. Buffering, well, that sucks. There's no reason to be buffering other than we're talking about the trial. That's pathetic. Sandy, Dunkin' Donuts went downhill too. I've not been in one in probably a year or so, if you want to know the truth. I did go into a black rifle, but it was before they went woke. I don't go into a lot of coffee shops, honestly. Sometimes we'll stop at Sheetz. I don't know if Sheetz is woke or what, but sometimes we'll stop there and I'll get some coffee there. But it's not Sheetz has that fancy coffee bar. I don't really go up to that. I just get it out of the machine or whatever. Robert Need, call in. Call out. Just tell him I ain't coming in, son. So, Adam in Alaska bringing up Radio Shack, making me sad. Minutemen coffee I've heard of. I've not tried Minutemen. I've tried Invader coffee. I have some of it here. It's really good. And then somebody got me turned on to Bone Frog. I think it's called Bone Frog or something like that. And it was really good. Or Frogman. Something like that. I got one bag of it here. I got Biden buffered. Folks, let me try and refresh it if you're getting this. I'm going to try and do the same thing. It's just ridiculous, you know. I can almost touch the router where I'm at now. There's just no sense in it. And people will always tell me to wire the thing straight into the router, and I'm like, it's an iPhone. I don't know if that can even be done. You're good now. Well, thank you, Luce. Thank you very much. 5x5, I appreciate it, folks. Tim Hortons, I've never tried. I know what it is. As a Canadian football fan, I do know what Tim Hortons is. They're always advertising. So, this comes from our moderator, Dawn. She mentioned this yesterday on social media. Heating systems. Get them checked out now if you know you're going to need work on heating systems because of the winter. She knows a guy, and he's saying they're swamped. And also they're having a lot of trouble finding the parts for heating systems. Dawn, D-A-W-N, Ink Scars. She's a moderator here. And she didn't ask me to remind anybody or anything, but I saw it and I'm like, you know, the heating systems, what is it called? HVAC or something like that. If you need work done, schedule it now if you can afford it, because it may not be available to you next few weeks. Does anybody know what is up with Boris Johnson's hair? I'm asking. I know it's random, but I wrote that down actually. God, that stuff looks like motor oil. I don't know if y'all can see that. It is solid black. Boris Johnson with the hair everywhere. I was going to ask y'all who wore it better, Boris Johnson or Lori Lightfoot, Beetlejuice. Who wears it better? Who's got the better hair? That should have been the poll this morning. Boris Johnson is the British Donald Trump. He does not own a brush. He's pulling it out. Brits have their own style. Okay, that makes sense, American Oma. I just wondered, I'm like, this man's bound to have enough money to get his hair done. Same with Lori Lightfoot. Now, she would probably have to drive out of Chicago to get her hair done. It's not safe in her own city. But you know she could do something with that mop on her head. So could Boris. Imagine those two. Okay, walk with me for a second here. Imagine those two having a love child together. Lori Lightfoot and Boris Johnson. What would that hair look like? Joe, what happened with the Black Rifle Coffee Company? I think it was the New York Times. They did an interview and they said that anybody, I'm paraphrasing, they said anybody, and everybody's like, no. Anybody that questioned the results of the last presidential election is not an American. And they went on to bash the man who is on trial right now, in which we are waiting the results of. They called him something like a terrorist or something like that. And a bunch of people dumped him at that point. And they said that they're becoming the Starbucks over on the right. You know, that they're actually a Starbucks, but they're trying to masquerade as patriots. And I was very sad by this because I had a bunch of their bags of coffee. I still have a t-shirt in there, but I wear it under some of my button-up shirts. And I had a coffee mug. I gave that joker away. I was sad. New. God's country. China has sent 8 warplanes into Taiwan's air identification zone just hours after the virtual meeting yesterday. China is going to go into Taiwan. There's no way around it at this point. Either Taiwan is going to say, come on in, y'all own us, which they're not going to do. They've said as much. We'll go to war first. Or China's going to go in. They view that as their property. And we were talking yesterday, imagine if somebody came and took some of your property. You know, on paper, it's no longer your property. The government comes in, takes your farm, for example. But to you, it's still your farm, you know? To you, it was taken illegally. And you've got a bunch of people cheering it on in the background, being the United States in this case. China looks at it like that, and they are ready to jack people up. They have a tremendous military. People don't understand. Again, their Navy's larger than ours. The rest of their military is still lagging a little behind, but they're not deployed all over the world like the United States. We're stretched pretty thin. And the same with Russia. They're going into Ukraine at some point. And they're not going to stop with Ukraine. They're going to start recouping. Now, you can be for that or against it. I'm not taking a position. I'm just telling you they're going to do it. Oh, you can't say that, deplorable prepper. I'll tell you why. Deplorable prepper says history books say that the Chicago mob swayed the Kennedy election. You can't say history anymore. My daughter was telling me this. She has a school teacher that showed him an article that said it is now sexist if you say history. They're now saying herstory. So I have a degree in something that is considered sexist now. The word history is a no-no. The lunacy continues. I mean, I didn't know I was offending people when I said the word history. I didn't know that ladies were like, really? Really? That's very chauvinistic of you to say the word history. American Oma just keeps putting it in. Truth seekers, I don't know if we are, because again, this is going to impact the global community. I really think it's going to spark a World War III. Globalists are the ones that want Taiwan. Globalists do not want China to get more powerful because China is standing in the way of their agenda. They do not want Russia getting more powerful because, again, they're standing in the way. So if there's a land grab, globalists are going to react by getting the troops together. Not the blue helmets, but I'm talking about the United States, Australia, the United Kingdom, France. They're all going to get together and they're going to try and do something about it. Here at home, we're going to see major rationing if that takes place. And we're also going to see a lot of violence here. And for those of you that have been saying, I'm ready, I'm locked and loaded, when that time comes, you're going to get your opportunity, I think, to fight for freedom or, to sit there and do nothing. Arstery, thank you, Joni. The only good bug is a dead bug. Rocks. Somebody is a Starship Troopers fan. I like that movie. Let's see. Yeah. Independent Marines in here. Okay. Smoke and mirrors. It could be. It could be saber rattling. It could be that everybody wants to avoid war. But we're going to eventually get to the point where they're just going to do it anyway. They're spending way too much money and their militaries are building up. And again, they're going to enrich their countries through war. It's just the way it is. History or herstory or whatever you want to call it repeats over and over. And so that is what's coming. I'm sorry to hear that, kicking like a chicken. Lost my job because of no whiskey shot. A lot of people right now are in that position. My wife, she just got an email a couple of weeks ago where they're still offering $250. What a deal. If she's willing to do it. She isn't. I told her, I said, baby, if you need $250, I'll give it to you. Tax free. I'm not even going to tax what I give you. Not to do it. But eventually they'll mandate it and she'll lose her job as well. And she knows it. She's just ride it out to that point, and then she's going to ghost them. Herstory. Melissa, I don't go to coffee shops. They're overpriced. Yes, they're very overpriced. Again, I do stop at Sheetz sometimes, but it's because I'm in my car a lot. And plus, when I go into the Sheetz here locally, everybody's dressed like me. There's people wearing camo. They're like, what's up, man? There are trucks out in the parking lot, real trucks. The ones that, got metal missing out of them and a little Bondo on them, stuff like that. I get a little nervous when I go into a fancy coffee shop and everybody's dressed nice and I don't know what to order. When I go up to a counter at a coffee shop, I never know what half of the stuff is, I know what mocha is. I know what vanilla is. But I start to, and they get mad. I haven't been in Starbucks in a long time, but I went in and they call their sizes something else, like they're small, medium, and large or whatever. And I said, a medium, I guess. And they're like, we don't have medium. And then they go on to like school me on the the terminology they use. And I'm like, this cup right here, I pointed to it. It's like, man, it's just not the place for me. El Grande, the big one, give me the big one. Order plain coffee. Well, I mean, Stray, they look at you weird when you do this. Even at, other chains besides Starbucks, you'll go in. It's up across the border in Virginia, but there's a coffee shop we like to go to, and it's a quiet place, but it is kind of fancy still. And we go in, and I just feel like an idiot saying black coffee. Just give me black coffee. Because everybody else is standing there, and they've ordered all this nice stuff, and I'm a fish out of water. Yeah, give me a large coffee. I'm riding dirty this morning. Go in and tell them I'm riding dirty. Go in and do the crip walk on them. Say, give me that right there. Give me that coffee. Let's see here. What else do I have written down? Beto. Some of y'all pointed this out. I'd missed this somehow. He is running for governor of Texas. Speaking of Texas turning blue. Can't call it coffee by its appearance anymore. I know. And I like the Keurigs. It's not a Keurig brand, it's the off brand or whatever, but I don't really like the Keurig cups because you don't get a whole lot. So I get this sounds shady, but I get the bags of the ground up coffee, or I'll grind it myself. And then I call them cheater cups, and little plastic cups that you fill up because you get a whole lot more in there. But yeah, a lot of places now you go in and all they have is Keurig stuff. I am a Keurig coffee snob. How dare you? Beto. How many Beto fans we got in here? Anybody? Let me go ahead and put my hand down on that. Beto probably at this point could not win. In an honest election, he probably wouldn't win troop leader of a Boy Scout troop. Lou says, don't feel bad. I feel the same way every time I went to Starbucks. Sometimes I'll go in with my wife to Sheetz, and she loves tea, so she's a tea snob. So she'll go up to the coffee counter or whatever where they make the special coffee. And she already knows. She don't even ask anymore what I want because she knows I don't know what they have. I don't know what this stuff means. So she'll order me something fancy, peppermint. I'll tell her something winter, something Christmas or something pumpkin, and that's it. Beyond that, I don't know. Jen Boyle's glad I don't drink coffee. You need to drink coffee. Oh, Beto is a waste of money in Texas. Do y'all think he'll win? Honestly, though. Because I hate to tell folks in Texas, again, it is purple right now. And they are trying their hardest to flip it blue. They are going to throw tons of money on top of Beto to try and win Texas. American Omar. The British are going after ARs. It's going to continue. They don't want you to have means of self-defense. They don't want you to be able to fight against globalism. Hopefully that doesn't buffer me again. Talk slower. I'm about 12 minutes behind. Soil prepper. I'll try to talk slower. Like one of those automated things that comes on the radio and says, zombies are running loose. They're killing everybody, son. Seek shelter. Well, Craig, here's the thing, okay? So her education, her secondary education is actually in the medical field. Right now she works in education, but she works with disabled kids. So she's able to use her medical degree. If she leaves, she'll have to go into the medical field somewhere. And most of the doctor's offices and things like that around here are also requiring the whiskey shot. So she really doesn't know what she would be doing, but she does not want it. Conserve friends, and that's the game. The last time it buffered, 100 people left the chat. That's the game they play here at YouTube, unfortunately. They don't want us. What's up, Mojo Man? They don't want us congregating, exchanging information. They don't want you folks chatting in the live chat. So they'll buffer. They'll try and get people to leave. And again, this is not the only channel it happens, unfortunately. I've been slapped on the wrist twice. Once for calling out people that target small children, would be the way to put it. And the other time, it had to do with doing your own research when it comes to medicine. I won one of the appeals, and the other appeal, they put me in prison for a week, which is where the backup channel came from. They deleted Mojo Man. Well, I'm sorry, Mojo brother. Some stuff's out of our control. I promise I did not do that. They are afraid of the truth tomorrow. Absolutely. You cannot have free speech in a world that they're trying to build for us. Independent Marine. So yeah, Prepper Nurse 1 is jailed for a week right now. I didn't realize that, if that's the case. I know they'd got him a while back. Thank you, Joni. They all buffer. You're right. I lurk. Jennifer Cruz knows I lurk on people's, and they buffer quite a bit. And at first I thought maybe, I said this in the past, maybe I dated somebody that now works over there, but no, I realize it's just all the prepping channels. So here we go. Last thing I've written down. Well, that didn't work out too well. Let me try that again. There we go. Liz Cheney. I'm so tired of hearing about this lady. I don't know what Liz Cheney has done to warrant so much coverage on mainstream media lately. I really don't. I know she's a lawmaker or whatever. Liz Cheney is the Kamala Harris of the right side of the aisle. You know how liberals don't want Kamala Harris? They're like, get rid of her. Conservatives, I don't think we want Liz Cheney. She's a rhino. And I'm just so sick of hearing Liz Cheney. Every other story on mainstream media that we're hit with is Liz Cheney. Britney Spears, Liz Cheney. The Pete Davidson guy from Saturday Night Live, Liz Cheney. Like, what is this lady doing to get all of this coverage? Where do I sign up? Do I got to wear a Liz Cheney wig? Will that get me some coverage on mainstream media? I don't know. She's a swamp creature. Rhinos must fall. Brian Turner. We need, somebody said this, I think it was River Rat. We need term limits, period. We need them. In order to save this country, you put hard term limits in. We have them for everybody else. Put term limits in. How do we do that? Do we vote on it? If we vote on it, that ain't never happening. Because we know what will happen there. Wear a Boris wig. Never look back. Where would I even get a Boris wig? Little Miss Patriot, am I flagged? No, I don't think so. I see you just fine. Hard term limits voting. Andrew, let's see here. How invested are you in the Rittenhouse trial? I'm going to be watching it to see if the jury comes up with a verdict today. Here shortly. I realize it's on, but first 15 minutes, 30 minutes, they're not going to, they're not just going to bust the doors out. I think that, how can I put this? I think that he may have put himself in a bad situation, but I don't think he's guilty of any actual crimes. I think he was allowed to own the gun. He had every right to be there. He had family there in Kenosha. And I think maybe he was there for the right reasons, but put himself in a bad situation. But on the flip side, somebody needed to do something. Somebody's got to stand up. They keep forgetting. Remember, was it last year or the tail end of the year before, when the CNN building, when rioters almost took it completely over? I watched a live stream on that. People forget this kind of stuff, but It's not okay to riot and burn down small businesses, you know? And so I don't blame him for having protection with him. I would have had something as well. I wouldn't have waited as long, if you want to know the truth. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here this morning, Natalie. I do need to close it up soon. Is there anything that you folks want to talk about before we jump off here? Worminati says, wrong, not guilty of the shootings, guilty of possession. I honestly think he will catch some smaller charges. They may give him a little time, but I don't think he's guilty of, you know, the top charges. I think he was defending himself, you know, if you want to know the truth. What did you expect? If you pull a handgun on somebody and they got an AR, what do you think's going to happen? If you chase them down the road with a skateboard and you're beating them in the head with a skateboard, what do you think's, how's that going to end up? You know, these people just, they were making a lot of mistakes. It wasn't just him. Board up your businesses, especially if you're in that area. I get joyful every time a liberal gets upset. Commander Stud. Liberal tears are my Gatorade, especially over on Twitter. Climate lockdown, salty soldier. When I go back through, I'll write that down and I'll look into that. Somebody, it may have been you, mentioned that yesterday as well. I don't know the first thing about it. If they're locking people down over climate change, that would be a deal breaker for me. I gotta be honest. T-Rex, I also thought that was weird. Kyle is white in the United States. You saying he'll be just fine, but there are black right activists there ready to start rioting. And I don't even think the victims were white, if I'm not mistaken on that. I just found it odd, you know. Yeah, they did drop the weapons charge. I did see that, Big Sean. You have a name for your AR, Darren. We'll close with that. My AR's name is Jolene. Anybody else name their weaponry? Like actual names? Hutch Homestead, what's up, brother? Is that a thing? Do people name their boomsticks? Because if so, I need to go name a few. I may just call one of them Liz Cheney just because I keep hearing the name all the time. Yep. Nana P says, yep. Rossi, Precious. Okay, I can see Precious. Yep. Wow. Everybody. Poll question for tomorrow. That sounds good, Mika. We'll do something about naming boomsticks here. Big Red. Earthshaker. Athena. That's an awesome name, Ed. Hospitality, Arkansas Living. Do have one. Okay, Brock the Glock. Wow, so I need to get on it then. I will name mine. I don't want to throw them all out here on the live stream, but I'll name a few and I'll announce that tomorrow. I got to come up with some names now. Smokey, that's pretty obvious one there. My stick. Outlaw Josie Wales. Wow. The Moab. Pedro Thunder. Okay, folks. I'm going to jet up off here. I'm going to watch the trial like pretty much everybody else here in chat. And assuming the jury comes back with a verdict, we'll talk about it tomorrow and all the chaos that's bound to ensue. If they still are deliberating tomorrow, we're going to switch over and we're going to talk about medicines and the shortages and things that we're seeing here in the United States, okay? Until tomorrow morning, again, happy hump day, and y'all take care and God bless.